Hey everybody, the Arthur of Gaming here. I'm here to show you today Wingspan. So this is a really good game created by Stonemaier Games, as you can see up here. Where is it? Up there. There you go, Stonemaier Games. This is Wingspan. It is 1 to 5 players, somewhere here in the middle, and it is 40 to 70 minutes, ages 10 plus. Now, the cool thing about Wingspan is it's a real engine-driven game. So you are building an engine out of your cards, and then you're taking advantage of that engine as you play. So some cool components that it has with it. There's this cool bird feeder right here, which you're going to miss some of it because of the green screen action, but this bird feeder here. They have these really cool dice, which have like symbols and stuff on them. Boom, dice. They have these eggs, which go on your birds. Color does not matter, by the way. Food tokens, goal tokens, which I'll show you in a second because they're pretty great, and your board, which you're going to lose some of it from green screen as well, but you can see it here, the board. So let's go through a few things here. The good thing about Wingspan also is that Wingspan has variable goals every game. Not only do you have these end of round goals, which I'm going to show you, which, by the way, Wingspan plays over 4 rounds. There is, each person has, let me show you, has 8 little squares, 8 little cubes that show your actions. At the end of the first round, you will take one of those cubes and you will put it on the goal card, which is here, to show how many points you got for completing that goal. So one of those comes off, goes on the goal card. Now for the next round, round 2, you have 7 actions. Third round, you have 6 actions. Fourth round, you have 5 actions, etc., etc. There are 16 tiles that I have. I have the base set, and I have the European expansion. One cool thing, European expansion is cheap. So as far as expansions go, it's like 25 bucks. So that's a pretty good expansion. I think it's a pretty good cost. So I have 16 tiles here. 16 tiles. Boom. They are double-sided. So that gives you a total of 32 end of the round goals, and you're going to use 4 of them per turn, or 4 of them per game, which is 1 per round, as I showed you. And there's all sorts of things like here. This one says number of birds in one row. So you'll pick one of your rows, probably the one with the most birds in it, and you'll say, okay, so for this round I get 3 points because I have 3 birds in that row, right? Now, the other side of this says filled columns. So, in addition to there being rows on your board, of course, there's columns, right? Because if you're going to have rows and they're stacked on top of each other, you're going to also have columns. So you have columns here, 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 here. And so some of them have, if you have this whole first column filled up, you'll get points for that. And like I said, there's 16 of those double-sided, so there's 32 end-of-round goals. In addition, at the beginning of the game, you are dealt 2 bonus cards. Bonus cards, you get to keep 1, and then there are some birds that when you play them, you draw 2 more bonus cards and pick 1. So this is another way to score some like secret points because you get to keep these hidden. No one has to see them. No one gets to see them. So this says birds with, and you see the symbol for nests, and that's a cavity nest. So what that is a nest like in the tree or something. And it says if you have 4 to 5 birds, you get 4 victory points. That's what the feather means, is victory points. If you have 6 plus birds with cavity nests, you get 7 victory points. And then you can't quite read it here because it's not quite adjusting, but birds with cavity nests or with star nests, because stars are wild, count for it. And at the bottom it says how many cards. So it says 31% of cards in the game have that nest on it. So it kind of gives you an idea when you're looking at your beginning too. Like if one is 31% and one is 5%, you would be like, well, maybe I won't get the 5% unless your starting hand does it, because your starting hand consists of 5 birds. And you get 1 of each type of food. There's 5 types of food. There is wheat, there is worms, there is berries, there is fish, and there is mice. So you get 5 types of food, 5 cards. For every starting card you decide to keep, you must throw out a piece of food. Now, you don't have to keep the food to play those cards. You could just keep all 5 cards if you wanted. And just because you felt like you wanted the cards, you don't care about the food, whatever, but then you have to go get food so you can play these guys, because food is a cost to play the bird. It's not an upkeep cost. It is not a cost that you pay to use the bird usually, not that I've seen yet. It is just a cost to play the bird. Speaking of birds, so I'm trying to find one that has, so here we go. We have a bird right here that has a couple cool mechanics on it that you don't see. So there's this up in the top here is the terrain type. So it can be played in the forest, or it can be played in the wildland, or the grasslands. This one has 3 food options, but they are all with a slash. So you can pay either a worm, either a wheat, or a bird, or a berry. Sorry, berry. This right here, this 2, that's how many victory points the bird is worth at the end of the game. This is the cavity nest that I showed just a minute ago. 4 eggs here means you can store up to 4 eggs on this bird, and then a power, as well as a wingspan. So the wingspan of the bird comes into play when you have other birds that, like so far what I've seen, attack the birds. So you have some predator birds like owls or eagles or hawks, and they will flip a card off the top of the deck. If the wingspan is less than a certain number, they then tuck that card behind it. Now, at the end of the game, cards tucked behind all your birds are worth victory points, 1 for 1, as are eggs and as are food that gets tucked on your birds. So basically anything gets put on your bird gets counted for victory points at the end of the game, which I'll explain in a little bit. So the colored bar at the bottom, there's a brown bar for when activated. I'll explain in a second. There's a white bar for when played. There's a pink bar for between turns. So if your opponent takes an action, it may trigger one of your pink powers. In the European expansion, they also make a blue power, which is at the end of round. So after everybody has taken all of their actions for the round, you then fire off the power before scoring the end of round goal. How you fire off the when activated powers. As you put birds on your board, as you can see here, you put them in rows. The second row, the third row both take 1 extra egg, as you can see at the top here where my pinky is. There's an egg cost at the top. The third row takes 2 eggs, and the 5th row takes 2 eggs as well. So in addition to the normal cost for playing the bird, you have to pay the cost in eggs at the top of the row. If you have no birds in the forest, and you want to take the action to gather food, you put one of your squares, your little squares here. You then take 1 food out of the bird feeder, which I'll show you in a minute, and then the token goes over here. Your round's over. However, if you have birds here, let's say 2 birds here in these 2 spaces, when you take the action, you go to the rightmost square where there's not a bird, and that's what you use. So if you put 1 here, you'd get 2 food from the bird feeder, and then you go to the left and you fire off whatever powers say when activated. There's some great stuff in there. There's some very good combos where you can, one bird may say take a specific food from the bird feeder, and then the next bird, if you happen to get it in the right order, may say take that food and put it on this bird's card. Because remember, anything on the bird cards or under the bird cards counts for victory points. So you can get some really cool engine and combos built up. There's 4 things you can do on your turn. You can play a bird to one of the columns. You can activate the food row. You can activate the egg row, or you can activate the draw a card row. And all those operate the same way. Once you activate them, you move across, activating whatever birds have an activated power on them. If they have a when played power, or if they have a between turn power or an end of round power, those don't actually fire when played, right? Because they're not played. You're not playing them at that point. So you just fire off the brown when played powers. The bird feeder. You get all these cool dice here with little symbols on them. A note: that symbol, which is a wheat/worm, is not the same as the wheat symbol, and it's not the same as the worm symbol. So one thing about this is you have the bird feeder. You drop your dice in it, which is basically a dice tower. The food is in the bottom here. You can see all the different foods. If at any time the symbols on top of the dice are all the same, or there are no dice in the bird feeder, The next time you need to take food, you can re-roll the dice. So in this case, if I took a worm and this worm wheat and chose worm or wheat, whichever one, and I had a third die to take out and I didn't want berry, I could take all these dice and whatever dice have been taken out and put all 5 of them back in the bird feeder and then choose from there. So that's the bird feeder mechanic all the time. Whether it's your turn, whether it's your opponent's turn, and they're giving you the option to take a food out of the bird feeder, which does happen. Some of the birds have activated powers that say things like everybody takes one out of the bird feeder, and the person whose bird it is gets to choose who goes first, and then you go clockwise after that. So there's that. So that's how the bird feeder works. It's just drop the dice in. There are birds that say, if like some of the hawks or owls, I think it is, when you play the bird, or when you activate the bird, or when you play the bird, you could have a power that says roll all dice not in the bird feeder, and so you roll them outside the bird feeder. And any ones that come up with like a mouse on them, for instance, you then put a mouse on the card, and having tokens on the cards gives you victory points at the end of the game. Some of my favorite ones are birds that allow you to tuck cards to draw cards. So there are birds that allow you to tuck a card underneath it and draw a new card. When you draw cards, you can draw either from the top of the deck, or there is this little tray which has 3 birds on it face up. So you can choose one of the face up birds, or you can draw one off the top of the deck. Which is handy because sometimes you may like one of the face-up ones, or you may not, and that's when you may draw off the top of the deck. So it allows you to do that. It allows you to have that option when you're doing it. At the end of the game, there are 6 things that count for points, as on your little score pad here. So the first one is birds. You're going to go through all your birds that are played. You're going to look at the feathers on the birds and add that total up. In the few games that I've played all the way through, you've gotten about 40 or so points. 40 to 50 points I've seen probably on average. Bonus cards is the next one. So like I said, when you start the game, you get 2 of these bonus cards. And they have various things on them, various conditions for getting points. You add up those. There are also birds that when you play them, they say draw 2 bonus cards and keep 1, for instance. So that's another way to get bonus cards to really kind of add up some points. And then end of round goals. So all these end of round goals, you would add them up. This is the one where this side is like an easier side. It's just if you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you just put your thing there. This other side, which may not show up because it's green, actually has like a first, second, third place on it. So when you do it, you add up the totals for everybody and whoever's in first, second, or third. So I kind of like the green side better for me. But then the fourth thing on here is eggs. So the number of eggs that are still on your birds at the end of the game. Because remember, eggs also are a cost of playing birds. If you played in the second or third column, it costs an extra egg. If you played in the fourth or fifth column, it costs 2 extra eggs per bird. So whatever eggs are left on your birds, those score points. Food on cards. Again, if you have like a hawk or something that eats another bird and gets food, takes a token on it or something and puts it on the bird, that counts for a victory point. Each one. And then tucked cards. Again, any card that says put a card underneath it to do something, like draw another card or something, those are all worth victory points. So if you can get some really good mechanics going where you're tucking cards, putting eggs on, putting food on, you can really rack up some serious victory points for the end of the game. So far, most of my games, looking at score pads here, 70s to 80s. So our end games have been in the 70s to 80s. So far, all my games have been extremely close. I think the biggest margin of victory so far between playing a few games with just me and my wife and then playing a few games with me and a couple of my friends, the biggest margin of victory has been like 3 or 4 points. So it's really tight. So when you're playing, if you have a card that'll give you 4 points, I mean, it could be a winner for you, right? So if you look at the website back here, this is Stonemeier's website. This is the Wingspan website. You can see on here they have all sorts of things on here, give you some ideas of how to play the game, all the components in the game. You got some pictures of like the eggs here and the dice here and the food tokens and the cards. Here's some of the birds and everything. This game has been really popular. It's been selling out everywhere. It's been hard to find. I had to go to a website and like tell them to email me when they got some back in stock, and then I snagged one as soon as it came back in stock. The MSRP is $55. It's worth it. It's a very dense game. There's lots of stuff in there, so I feel like you really feel like you're getting the value out of it. Like I said, I think the expansion, I think I paid $25 for the European expansion. So, and I felt that was really good too. I mean, it was mostly cards, but I felt for an expansion, having $25 for an expansion, I felt was good. And there's all sorts of things on showing you what's in the game, as well as a trailer for it, how to play, etc. on their website. So it's a great game. Stonemaier makes some really awesome games. Not only Scythe, Charterstone, Wingspan, Viticulture. I mean, there's lots of really good games that Stonemaier Games makes. I don't think I've played a Stonemaier game that I don't like at this point. However, Wingspan is probably my favorite Stonemaier game at this point. It's just really incredible. Whoever made it there, Elizabeth Hargrave, did just an amazing job. And if you're into birds at all, I mean, it's pretty cool. It also shows you on the bottom, it's hard to see on the bottom, but where the bird is from. So whether it's from North America, South America, Asia, etc., it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea, which not only helps you with the cards from what expansion, right? Because the European expansion would be different, but it shows you just so you know for like later. They said they got all their information straight from like the Autobahn website and that sort of thing, so their information is pretty accurate. And I think the birds are pretty cool. So if you're a bird lover, this is probably something for you. If you're just a game lover in general, it's really good. The 40 to 70 minute time, which is right here, 40 to 70 minutes. I haven't seen a game go 70 minutes yet. But I haven't played a 5-player game either. 3 is the most I played with. 40 is pretty accurate, I think. I think even with a 2-player game, people that know how to play, you could probably play it in less than 40, which is nice. That's one reason why my wife likes it, because she likes shorter games. Unlike me, I'll play long games, but she likes shorter games. So this has become a good game for her. She really enjoys it. So again, check it out. Wingspan, Stonemaier Games, awesome games. Follow me on Instagram at the Arthur of Gaming, Facebook at the Arthur of Gaming, Twitter at the Arthur of Gaming. Here on my YouTube channel, please like and subscribe below. Tell me in the comments what kind of stuff you guys looking for, what kind of games you're looking for, what kind of things do you want to see. I put a lot of stuff about Dungeons & Dragons and board games up here, and I'm more than willing to show you guys some stuff if there's a particular game you want to see something about. If I have it, I'll put something up about it. So just give me a yell. So as always, folks, it's a dangerous world out there. Please be safe.